You are being sabotaged, not by laziness, not by the wrong diet, by three things sitting in your kitchen right now that you think are helping your fast and that are quietly dismantling every hour of it. That flavored electrolyte drink, the dash of oat milk in your morning coffee, the naturally sweetened protein shake you take as a safe option. All three are sending a hormonal signal your body cannot ignore. And once I show you what that signal does to 16 hours of fasting, you will never look at your morning routine the same way again. Stay with me, because the two-move fix takes under a minute, costs nothing, and changes everything. Here's the part that nobody tells you, and the reason millions of people are fasting correctly on paper and getting almost nothing back for it. The problem is not commitment, it is not duration, it is not even what you eat when you break the fast. The problem is a silent hormonal alarm that fires before a single calorie enters your body, and you are almost certainly triggering it every single morning without knowing it exists. But here's the research that made me stop and reread it 3 times. A study from the Journal of Metabolic Research found that nearly 3/4 of people who believed they were executing a clean fast were unknowingly triggering the exact hormonal response that instructs the body to hold fat in storage rather than release it. 3/4, not a fringe failure rate, the majority. Which means if you have ever fasted consistently and wondered why the results don't match the effort, this is the reason. Not your metabolism, not your genetics, a tripwire you didn't know was there. Before we get into the mistakes, let me show you what a clean fast is actually supposed to do inside your body, because you need to understand the mechanism before you can understand how it gets broken. Imagine your metabolism as a high-security facility. When you fast, you are issuing one directive to the entire system. External supply has been cut. Switch to reserve energy. Open the storage units and start drawing from what's inside. Every cell in your body gets that memo. Fat reserves begin unlocking. Ketone production begins ramping. The metabolic switch, the one researchers confirm flips somewhere between hour 12 and 16, starts moving toward its active position. This is the goal. This is everything fasting is supposed to produce, and this is precisely what the 2 mistakes below prevent from ever fully happening. 1. The Phantom Insulin Spike. Here's what nobody explains about insulin, and this single piece of information will make you see your morning routine completely differently. Insulin does not only respond to calories, it responds to signals. Specifically, it responds to the anticipation of sugar. The moment your taste receptors detect sweetness, from a zero-calorie sweetener, from a flavored drink, from a piece of chewing gum, your nervous system sends an advanced signal to your pancreas. Something sweet is incoming. Prepare to manage it. Your pancreas, being the highly responsive organ it is, releases insulin before a single calorie has been absorbed. This is called the cephalic phase insulin response, and it is the silent alarm that locks your fat storage facilities back down the moment it fires. And here's what that anticipatory insulin release actually does to your fat-burning window, because the numbers are worse than most people realize. Research from Stanford University found that even a modest rise in insulin, as small as 10% above the fasted baseline, was sufficient to suppress fat oxidation for up to 3 hours. 3 hours gone because of a flavored drink you assumed was safe, because of a sweetener you were told was fasting-friendly. You didn't break the fast with food, you broke it with a signal, and your body responded to that signal exactly as it was designed to. 3 hours. 3 hours of fat burning halted by a single insulin signal, not from eating, from tasting. If your fasting window is 16 hours and you trigger this response at hour 2, you have just converted your fast into a 6-hour window at best. Let that land. But here's what makes this even more frustrating, because the products triggering this response are the exact ones marketed as fasting safe. That flavored BCAA powder with 0 calories, the electrolyte tablet with natural fruit flavor, the protein coffee blend that says won't break your fast on the label. All of them activate sweet taste receptors. All of them send the anticipatory signal. Your body does not read marketing labels, it reads chemistry. And the chemistry of sweetness, regardless of whether a calorie is attached to it, triggers the same preparatory insulin release every single time.
2. The metabolic engine destruction.
But wait, because this second mistake is not about what you're doing during the fast, it's about what you're failing to do after it. And the long-term damage it causes is something most people don't discover until months of effort have already been lost. Here is the brutal reality of what fasting does if you get this wrong. When your body is running on empty, it is making decisions about which tissue to preserve and which to convert for fuel. Fat is the preferred fuel source, but only if your body has been given a clear and consistent signal that your muscle tissue is essential. If that signal is absent during your eating window, your body begins converting muscle alongside fat. And losing muscle during a fast is not just an aesthetic problem, it is a metabolic catastrophe. And here's the research that quantifies exactly how serious this is. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that individuals who fasted without consuming adequate protein in their eating window lost 40% more muscle relative to fat over a 12-week period compared to those who prioritized protein intake. 40% more muscle lost relative to fat when protein intake is neglected during the eating window. Each pound of muscle burns approximately 50 calories per day at rest. Lose 10 pounds of muscle and you have permanently reduced your daily calorie burn by 500 calories. You are not just losing weight, you are dismantling the engine that burns it. Think of your muscle tissue as your metabolic power station. Every unit of it that exists is generating baseline energy expenditure around the clock, not just when you exercise, but while you sleep, while you sit, while you do nothing at all. When fasting quietly degrades that station because you didn't send the right signals in your eating window, you are not just undoing one day of effort, you are lowering the floor on every future day. The metabolism you have in 6 months is being shaped right now by whether you protect your muscle during your eating window. The fast is the trigger. The eating window is where you either compound the benefit or quietly destroy it. You see the problem now, and it is bigger than most people realize when they first start fasting. You are running 2 parallel risks every single day. During the fast, a phantom insulin signal is preventing the metabolic switch from fully engaging. After the fast, inadequate protein signaling is allowing your body to consume its own engine. You are being attacked from both ends of the same window, and neither mistake announces itself. Both accumulate quietly until the results stop coming and you cannot explain why. Here's the good news, and I want you to hear this clearly. Neither mistake requires a new supplement, a new protocol, or a new system. They require 2 precise adjustments to what you are already doing. 2 moves. That is the entire fix. And once they are in place, every hour of fasting you do from this point forward starts producing the results it was always supposed to produce. During your fast, your single job is to keep insulin flat, not low, not reduced, flat. The moment insulin rises above baseline, for any reason, from any source, the fat storage signal reasserts itself and the window you have been building toward closes. The rule is simple and there are no exceptions to it. If it has a flavor beyond bitter or plain, it is producing a signal you cannot afford during a fast. This is not about calories, it is about chemistry. Yes, black coffee, no sweetener, no milk, no just a splash. Black means black. Yes, plain water, still or sparkling, unflavored, unsweetened, no additives. Yes, unsweetened black or green tea, no fruit flavoring, no natural flavors. Yes, plain electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Read every label for hidden sweeteners before trusting any brand. No, everything else. If you are asking whether something is fasting safe, the answer is no. And here's exactly what protecting this window actually produces, because the difference is not minor. A 2024 study in Nature Metabolism tracked two groups of fasters over 8 weeks, one group using zero-calorie sweeteners in flavored drinks during their fast, the other adhering strictly to the plain list above. The strict group lost 34% more visceral fat. Same fasting hours, same eating window, same total duration. The only variable was whether sweet taste receptors were being activated during the fast. 34% more visceral fat from removing a flavored drink. Here's where most people undo 16 hours of discipline in under 3 minutes, and they do it with something they genuinely believe is a healthy choice. After 16 hours without food, your insulin sensitivity is at its highest point of the entire day. Your cells are primed to absorb and utilize whatever arrives first with maximum efficiency. And most people celebrate that window by hitting it with fruit juice, a banana, or a bowl of oats. Congratulations, you just detonated an insulin spike at the exact moment your system was most vulnerable to one. It is like surviving 16 hours of precise work and then handing the controls to someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And the research on what high glycemic foods do specifically at fast breaking is stark. A study in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that breaking a fast with high glycemic carbohydrates triggered an insulin response that suppressed fat oxidation and promoted fat storage for up to 6 hours after the meal. 6 hours of fat storage triggered by the first thing you ate after 16 hours of precise fasting. You did not ruin the fast, you converted it into a fat storage session. The goal was the opposite. Instead, think of breaking your fast the way a pilot thinks about landing, not diving at the runway, but descending in a controlled sequence that protects everything you've built. The order in which nutrients arrive after a fast determines the hormonal environment for the next 6 hours. Get the sequence right and you compound 16 hours of fat burning into a metabolic advantage that lasts the rest of the day. First, protein. Eggs, salmon, Greek yogurt, lentils. Triggers muscle protein synthesis, keeps insulin stable, and signals to your body that the engine is worth maintaining. Second, healthy fats. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds. Slows digestion, signals satiety, maintains the metabolic environment that fasting created rather than disrupting it. Third, complex carbs. Rice, sweet potato, fruit. Saved for later in the eating window when insulin sensitivity has stabilized and your body can process carbohydrates without a storage cascade. And here's what this sequencing actually produces versus doing it in the wrong order. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that breaking a fast with protein and fat first resulted in 50% less insulin rebound, and subjects reported sustained satiety for over 3 hours longer compared to those who started with carbohydrates. Same total food, same total calories, completely different hormonal outcome, determined entirely by the order nutrients arrived. Here's the part that most fasting content never mentions because it is genuinely uncomfortable and it does not fit the motivational format. Every time you trigger an insulin spike during a fasting window, whether from a flavored drink, a sweetener, or a safe product, you are not just pausing fat loss for 3 hours, you are training your insulin system to become more reactive over time. Repeated unnecessary insulin spikes progressively reduce your cell's sensitivity to the signal. The door gets harder to open. Eventually, you need more insulin to produce the same response. That progression has a name: insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the direct upstream cause of type 2 diabetes, chronic systemic inflammation, and the stubborn abdominal fat that no amount of fasting seems to shift. But here's the other side of this, and this is the part I want you to carry with you when you close this page. Your body is not working against you. It is responding precisely and correctly to the signals it is receiving. The moment you change those signals, the moment you remove the phantom insulin triggers during the fast and sequence your nutrients correctly when you break it, the system responds immediately. Within 72 hours of correcting these two mistakes, most people report sharper mental energy in the morning, reduced bloating, and the scale beginning to move in a direction that weeks of unfocused fasting never produced. Not because something new started working, because you finally stopped blocking what was already working. And the clinical data on what happens when people correct exactly these two mistakes is worth knowing before you decide this is too precise to bother with. A clinical trial published in the European Journal of Nutrition tracked 200 participants who specifically corrected their fasting window triggers and their fast-breaking sequence. In the first 2 weeks, they lost on average 7 pounds, verified as fat rather than water weight through DEXA body composition scans. 2 weeks, 2 moves, 7 pounds of actual fat, not because they fasted longer, because they fasted correctly. Here's the bottom line. Fasting is not a willpower contest. It is a precision instrument. Used correctly, it is one of the most powerful metabolic tools available to a human being, capable of resetting insulin sensitivity, triggering cellular autophagy, accelerating fat loss, and producing the kind of biological results that used to require pharmaceutical intervention. Used incorrectly with phantom insulin triggers during the window and high glycemic foods at fast breaking, it is hours of effort producing a fraction of its potential. You now know the difference. You know where the tripwires are, and you know exactly how to step around them. For the next 7 days, fast with nothing but black coffee, plain water, and plain tea. No sweeteners, no flavored anything. Break your fast with protein first, fats second, carbs last, every single time. Add 20 minutes of resistance training 3 times this week to protect your metabolic engine. Do these 3 things and your body will respond in ways that weeks of unfocused fasting never produced. Your metabolism has been waiting for you to get this right. Drop a comment right now. What is the one fasting safe thing you've been using that you're cutting out today? I read every single one. If this reframed everything you thought you knew about fasting, hit subscribe. Every week I break down exactly this kind of precision health science, what the research actually shows, with no products to sell and no protocol to push. And if you want the complete breakdown of what happens to insulin sensitivity after 14 days of correct fasting, the compounding adaptation data, and the exact window lengths that produce the most dramatic metabolic shifts, that is coming next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. You have been doing the hard part. Now do the precise part. The results are already in the system. You just stopped blocking them.